Everybody, I'm Stu Zimmerman, host of the video podcast series called Reset with Stu Zimmerman, among other things, as well as the creator of Only the Source LLC, a transformational media company here to awaken, inspire, and empower you to more peaceful, playful, and loving life. And we have with us today Bob Jayco, who also channels a beautiful, energetic frequency, consciousness called Sol, Signals of Love. And Bob, thank you for giving us the opportunity to communicate a little bit and bring this vibe out into the world.
Thank you, Stu. It's always a pleasure to work with you. It's actually quite a fun event when you and I work together. I really enjoy it.
Well, that really is part of where we're heading in this world, where work is actually something that's a lot more playful and a lot more fun and brings out the best of who we are. And so you've got a lot of best to bring out of you. So do you want to give everybody just a little bit of background here first before we dive in?
Yeah, sure. Soul originated when I was 10. It started coming through me after my father started beating me up. And so I basically, this particular frequency, this voice, if you like, emerged. And it's been with me for most of my life. It's 62 years now, where I've been transmitting soul on a very private basis. But in the last 18 months, I'm being encouraged to go more public with the information, to share the information and to share the wisdom of Source with whoever's willing to listen. And so what happens in this situation is that I normally will vacate the premises. That means my body. And I will shut my eyes and then will open my eyes and soul comes in and away we go. So you've done this before, so you know the drill.
Okay.
So I'm just explaining to the viewers that this is a process, and soul will address itself when it comes out, and you can then begin to process whatever questions you want. Okay. All right then. Disappearing now.
Okay, sounds beautiful. And for some reason, I feel like I want to invoke a timeless song that's a little over 50 years in origin ago. And what the world needs now is love, sweet love.
I'm old enough to remember that, Stu.
And it's the only thing that there's just too little of. And so with that as a backdrop, because by many measures, this is as timeless and urgent today as it was the day it was written. And so with that, inviting Saul to make his loving presence, its loving presence known.
Thank you.
So whenever Saul is ready to address us, we are eagerly awaiting the arrival.
Welcome, my dear friend. We are most pleased to be in your presence once again. We are Soul, Signals of Love, and we are here to delight your intellect, your ideation, and to give you whatever wisdom we can in relation to whatever is curious in your mind at the present time.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, as you are referring to yourself in the plural as a we, can you share a little bit more about the nature of this we?
Most certainly. We refer to ourselves as we, I, us, them, whatever terminology, for we are you. We are the one consciousness. We are every individual on the planet. We are beyond the planet. We are every life form that exists in what is, in your world, what you call the known universes. So we are just simply a frequency that is you. Often this frequency is unseen, unknown, and transparent from your normal understanding of yourselves. Nevertheless, the frequency exists and has always existed. We are also predominantly a frequency of love, which predominates throughout all of existence, for it is existence itself. And we are here to essentially remind you all that this is who you really are. And so in this emerging conversation we're about to undertake, we are here to give you words that often you receive yourselves, but you do not recognize the voice that is speaking to you. You often overlay it with your local mind. And so you suppress what we are always trying to show you or tell you. So therefore we are moving to a direct approach by which we use this vessel to explore the infinite questions that you have relating to why you exist and why you are constructing the physical world as you each experience it. That is who we are. We are you.
Well, in that spirit, and you have also shared with us that you are essentially a frequency or frequencies of love, which in essence is what we are as well, and that you're here to remind us of that, then is it safe to say that you are reminding us that we are frequency?
Correct. The structure of what you call the physical body is an apparition. It is an illusion within itself. For solidity requires an apparatus of what we call the technologies that you have assembled that comprise your body, the buildup of cells and biochemical, bioelectrical systems. But essentially, if you overlay that, you have also, and you notice we use the we have also, because you all constructed yourselves. You have constructed the human form, you have constructed the earth, you have constructed the planet, and you have constructed the universe. And so in that construction, you gave yourselves the ability to feel solid, to feel the impression of your life via the process of emotions, the mental elements of yourselves, the physical elements through the dimension of your senses, your ability to hear, to taste, to touch, and so on and so forth. Now, we can explain this in a little bit of a different way. If you were to put a blindfold on over your eyes, you would have a different perspective of your reality. And therefore, you would eliminate one variable in terms of the dimension of sight as a process of understanding your physical world. Now, let's assume, for example, in this particular construction, that you have lost your sight after a period of having it. Therefore, you still have reference points to what a tree may look like, what colors look like, what essentially the world would look like, but you have lost the ongoing ability to explore that world at that point. However, if you are born without sight, you have no reference points. Now, those reference points means that you do not know color. You do not know what a tree looks like. The only way your perspective can be your ability to think, to know that particular system is to go and hug the tree, to touch it, to feel it. So you would use the other senses to construct an impression of what that thing is. You would then learn to use sound or other systems to determine what you would normally determine as color. You would use sound to give you a variation of color. So you'd use other frequencies in your environment. So if you were to turn off your hearing as well, you have another level of deconstructing your ability to understand your physical world. You see, it's all constructed around the senses. Turn those off. What do you have?
Is that the frequency that you're talking about, or just energetic presence, consciousness?
Consciousness, exactly. You are still aware of yourself. For Source is always aware of itself. For Source has no embodiment. It is just simply exists. You could say everywhere. But that is the construct of Source. But Source needs an interface to grow, and the interface is physicality. So it constructs suns, moons, galaxies, people, animals, planets, in order to facilitate the process of its growth or an understanding of itself by the process of physicality. And so in the human world, the human experience is the senses. For in the plant world, it would be something different. Plants communicate via chemical pathways, and by incorporating what is termed a partner systems, such as the fungi that assist plants to communicate through the ground. And so they have partnerships with its surroundings, and plants communicate via vibration as well. And they listen to each other, and they experience together as a collective. Plants are a collective system. So is humanity. So we would say, if you ever attempt to have a group of plants in your house and you threaten one plant, you turn all the other plants into fear. They actually become fearful together. The intention to harm creates a frequency shift in all the plants where the one plant is being threatened.
It's fascinating. And I want to come back to how you started this response with the notion that we created these bodies and we created this physicality. And is that what you're saying, in a way that we are Source, and that Source is living through us through this physicality that is each of us individually as well as in the totality of all creation?
You are correct in that assumption. What we are describing is that you are extensions, exact duplicates of source from a frequency point of view. You have over millions of years evolved from light through this current evolution. So now you see your form in a way that has been designed and redesigned for a practical approach to living on this place that you call Earth. And so your evolution was designed in that way. You see, there's no evolution is designed so that you go through the phases of being many things in order to reach this particular form of evolution. And that does not mean that you have stopped evolving. For the human of 2,000 years into the future or 4,000 years into the future will not be the same human as you see today.
Mm.
Or it will become a different human. It will evolve with different constructs. It will be possibly more transparent or transluminescent in its appearance. It will be more telepathic. It certainly will be more connected to itself as a collective. And to a degree, it will work from a place of one mind. It will have abilities that we fantasize about, we fictionalize about. That, you know, you see the ability of people to transport themselves from one place to another. All of these things are possible. That the human has began to evolve and will continue to evolve. But you see, you have this instrument that you constructed called time, based on the cycles of the movement of the Earth around the sun. And so therefore you measure your life according to these facilities. They too are an illusion. For your life your current life is the blink of an eye to source. That is literally what it is. One blink and your life is over, and then you have the next one, and the next one, and the next one. See, you are infinite because the source and what it needs to grow is infinite in its possibilities. And so what we teach and what we ask you to try and remember is that so are you. You are infinite in possibilities, and yet you play small.
Mm.
You play little. And
You know, I was going to say, it sounds like in using your metaphor earlier, in terms of the senses and how our perception of our notion of reality changes if, let's say, we have a blindfold on or we're blinded or if we're deaf. It almost sounds as if we have a blindfold over our third eye and around our heart in a way that is, I would say preventing us, but it inhibits our ability to remember our connection as being an aspect of source.
You see, let us explain it in a slightly different way. Let us suggest that you are all connected. However, you do not understand you are all connected. If you decided in your ill wisdom to go down to the street and find an individual that looked something that you did not like, and you punched this individual, and that punch reverberates back on you. For as you harm another, you actually feel the pain yourself. If this was actually part of your conscious experience, there would be less people creating harm to other people, for you know that what you give out comes back to you in the physical form. The power of the punch is equalized back to you, so you feel the intensity and the pressure and the force of the punch yourself, as though it's been reversed. If this was the case, there would be less of a preference to going into violence. But nevertheless, when you harm at a different level, it's that counterpunch, if you like, exists in a dynamic of frequency. For you are indeed harming yourself. And let us explain this to you in the form of war and the destruction of another human life. When you destroy and eliminate another person during the course of a homicide or in war, you actually literally demise part of your own soul, your own frequency. Consequently, your medical people do not understand. They have a label for it. It is called PTSD. Yet they do not understand that it is a spiritual problem. It is a spiritual destruction of part of yourself, part of your soul. You have destroyed another person, which is part of you. And you live your life not understanding why you feel in depression, not connected to the earth anymore. And these are the common symptoms of PTSD, because you have, part of you has actually stopped living in a particular sense. So every thought, word, deed, and action has cause and effect on the collective. Every thought, word, deed, and action. And you see, when you take the sum total of your collective population, who have thought, words, deeds, and actions every microsecond, that is a lot of energy, a lot of different energy. However, if the common form of energy is not of the heart, then it must be of its opposite end. Okay? It must be not of the heart. So that is why you live in separation from yourselves in order to discover yourselves. And you could say there is no purpose, but there is a purpose. The purpose you choose in your physical world to be a host of this show is a personal choice. The purpose for your existence is to discover and live and engage in your life as source in physical form, consciously understanding that every choice you are making is you. Everything that you co-create, cooperate, and manifest in your life comes from you. And there's two parts of you.
Okay.
There's two parts of you. There's the local part, which is the part that started the journey. At baseline, you came in as a baby and you were taught whatever the world has taught it to you, your parents, your beliefs, your culture. They are the baseline. They are the things that you begin with. And it's your work to unravel all that, to discover who you are. So you are two things. You are local in your understanding of the world based on what you have been taught, seen, and observed. But you're also infinite. The challenge is to push through all these stories that you've been given and to realize that they are not truth in most cases. That the truth always has been available to you, but you have not been able to access it, or you have not been listening.
Mm.
You could say your purpose is just to exist and experience. Evolve.
So a question is coming up here, a couple of them actually, with one being this notion that we do have choice in terms of what we pay attention to. And I wonder, from the macro perspective, as you mentioned, we are essentially a blink in the cosmic eye of source in terms of this particular or any particular lifetime, or perhaps even the whole lifespan of the earth right now. Billions of linear years may simply be a blink in the eye of all of creation for all we know. The question is this one of free will versus some form of predetermination, because truly, if only this source is existing on a profound level, and it's only through its imagination and grace that we've been manifested as physicality for its own evolution on some level. Do you have any sense as to, is there any role of predestiny in any of this, or is everything simply one moment of free will upon another?
The latter is the more correct. For destiny assumes that you are not in control of each and every experience, and therefore something or some other system ordains itself that suggests that you are being manipulated by the great puppet master. You are indeed, you're looking in the wrong direction, for you are the puppet master, you see. Free will was given to sources, all source extensions, all parts of itself, because it was the only way that source could learn without interference. It gave each and every aspect of itself the right to choose its path, the right to choose each and every experience. The only difference between source and its experience in the physical form, that in the physical world, the local world, you determine a label to your choice, good, bad, or indifferent. For to source, it is neither. It is just simply an experience. And therefore, the experience converts to a memory. And it is the memory that allows source to grow. For every time you choose an experience or have an experience, consciously or unconsciously, source gets it real time. You are sharing every thought, word, deed, and action with source, the source that is yourself, real time. And there are nearly 8 billion of you. Let's just keep it in this local realm, doing this and expanding its thing. Source, when it awoke, knew everything, but it had no experience of anything. So, and this is the process that is going on. It is to allow itself to grow more and more and build upon each level of experience and knowledge. It has the knowledge. It just turns that with experience into wisdom, but it uses the vehicle of a physicality of some kind to enable that. So we are basically conduits of experience, memory, experience, memory, experience, memory. So source can create more and more and more and more. And the whole proposition is infinite, It just keeps going, never ending. And this is why, your different traditions say, man is an immortal soul. And that is a truth. You are immortal because you are infinite, and that indeed in the local world, you don't even exist except for the fact that you created these things that you call bodies to act as an interface to create the reality from the experience. You see, if you had eliminated emotions from the deal, so to speak, there would be no proposition for love because you would only think love. You know, you could not feel love. So this is why you have the biochemical, bioelectrical structures, so that when you have an experience, you have all these chemicals flowing, which give you a feeling, a good feeling. Oxytocin is an example. Serotonin is another one. And all of these create the feeling. You say your feely touchy world, you know, that's essentially the experience. If you take it another step further, you look at the way your world works. Essentially, it's a world of emotion, facilitated by fear and other things that, you know, your stock markets, your politics are all based around emotion. There's no logic often into them. If you watch your own politicians in action and other people, it's a planet that is driven by emotion. Unfortunately, there's not as much love in those emotions as there could be. And consequently, the habits and the actions that predominate from a collective that is not in tune with his heart is what you see in the physical world. All of the world that you see, you have labels for it. You can call it ecological disaster, climate change, you know, the way that you've constructed your social matrix. All of these things are a consequence of a human form that has separated from his source and works at a place of yet to discover the love within themselves, for they would not do what they do if that was not the truth. You see?
Yes, and as much as you've mentioned that this is simply or merely one lifetime in potentially an endless stream of lifetimes, I think most people are interested in this one that we're in right now. And as you've pointed out, especially with some of the political leaders, which are highly emotional and seemingly largely stimulated by fear and a sense of scarcity. And that has a massive ripple effect throughout society at large. And because we're all interconnected, we all can't help but feel that contraction that comes with that kind of denser energy, if you will. What can we do to, en masse, and I know it starts with ourselves individually, but go from a place that feels like more of a collective contraction to a collective expansion, and more of us are able to embody and be signals of love ourselves?
The answer to that question really is the answer to the reason why you exist and many others like you and this one. It is to educate, to become the educator, and probably even a deeper form of that is to become an instrument of demonstration of this ability to actually show people how they can live from the heart, how they can experience from the heart, and how they can do this consciously. the more you enable the population to move into that space, the more you expand that space. The bigger that space is expanded, the greater the influence that specific space has on the rest of the planet. You see, it is a model of expansion, and it can start with 1, 2, 10, 20, 20 million, and expand and expand. That is how you begin to evolve and develop the whole system. You notice how in the world, how a country has much more power than an individual in a country. That the individual that really leads the country is just simply a person that represents the group consciousness of the country. So if a country is doing what it does and has an effect on the rest of the planet, what would it be like if you took the same population and globally, not limited by geography or borders, a global collective equivalent to the size of your country, whose only work and only focus is to open up people's hearts. That's all their job is. That's their whole purpose. That's the purpose they have undertaken to change. If you can get that quantity, plus or minus, to begin to take and walk in lockstep, to teach, to educate, to demonstrate, and to allow others to experience what you experience, you will make a shift like nothing else that has been seen on this planet ever before. For it will be the first time that mankind in any size has come together to actually walk the planet as they should have, as extensions of Source, consciously, in physical form, living a life through the heart. And this is the reason why we are transmitting through this one, why we are talking to you, and why you talk to others, to get this message. For many thousands of years ago, to do this, to present this message, we used to have vessels like this, walking in sandals and robes from one village to another, telling a story. Half the time, the locals did not understand or were illiterate and could not understand. So they misconstrued the story. And so if you misconstrue the story, you change the story and you create another story. And so over the millennia, the stories have evolved, developed, redefined themselves. And therefore you have many tens of thousands of stories from the original story. But today, your population in general is better educated in some parts of the world. Let's say that 40% of your planet is better educated. They understand more, and your ability to deliver via this thing called the internet is much more effective. You can get your message out to at least 50% of the world. The other 50% still do not have this capability, but at least half your population has the ability to receive these messages in clear, defined form. And they have the ability to participate in the conversation. They have the ability to hear the message. And they also, which is more important, can learn to apply it in their daily lives. You see, you are here to experience, not to converse or not to even debate. You are here to take what you remember and what is given to you as information in order to convert it to actual experience. It's the experience that matters.
And so when you're talking about experience, is that simply moment to moment awareness and noticing the frequency that
Yeah.
is being experienced in the body and transmitted?
Yes. You could say that if you are aware of your mind and that it is always focused on the how and the why of a question. If I am out to do this thing that I do I do it from my local mind, or do I do it from my greater ability, from source frequency? Because the outcomes are different. So when you consciously begin to choose an action or thought, when you shift from local mind and ask yourself, how would my greater mind, how would my infinite mind, how would my infinite self experience this or create this experience? Your outcome is different, you see. For you are indeed walking in a frequency. For you are then in the question of source. You are in that frequency because you have actually moved by shifting the framework of your question and asking another question from another place. And for some people, it seems so simple that it is unbelievable, yet it is truth. For you cannot find source in a meditation. You can find peace in a meditation. You can find no mind in your meditation. It is neither in a visualization, for visualization is an internally developed transcription of whatever it is you want to image. It is neither in your body, for all of this is local, but it is in your intention to move to this other frequency. And when you decide that it is from here you wish to live and to experience, that is a completely different world. Your world shifts, things flow. Everything comes to you with ease, joy, and glory. All of these things happen just by simply moving aside, stepping outside of your local self. You still need your body, of course, because this is the place where you create the actions necessary to achieve your physical experiences. However, it's the other place where you begin to sit and to explore and to actually set in motion the intentions you desire. Because when you set that intention, you set up a connected frequency that connects with all the other people. And this is the world we call co-creation. For example, you cannot co-create, and your world is a co-creative world, not a creative world. You cannot create without anybody else in whatever scheme or systems you want to experience in a physical world. It's a co-creative experience. Your thought is shared by everybody. Your intentions are shared by everybody. And your collective experiences are shared by everybody.
So many people are not accustomed. Their nervous system isn't used to whether you call it conducting energy or vibrating at a frequency that is really loving. It's something that our society has fostered other vibrations largely based on separation and fear or what have you. So what can you share with people? As you said, on one level, it's simple, but it may not always be easy, just in the practicality of things and people's experience.
there are many steps to this process, but the easiest way to discuss the issue is that you are all wired for fear, and that is why your mind would go into mostly negative data when something that you are about to enter that you're not familiar with, or the unknown, is presented to you. That is your survival construct. But in 99% of cases, your fear is unfounded. And so if you can move beyond that and realize, of course, and this is the word called trust, to be able to trust your higher nature, that of Source, to know that Source is always got your back, so to speak, to use your local language. Source is always benevolent. Source will always support you. It's your local mind that gets in your way. So all the suffering that you see in the world, whatever suffering is in terms of the container, is essentially the space where you create that from local mind. Your limited beliefs, your programming, your stories imprinted by other people in most cases. So part of the journey is to ask the question, why do I have this belief, and where did it come from in the beginning anyway? If you track back all your internal stories, none of them have any real truth in them. They are just simply stories. And in fact, if you track them back further by lineage, you would say that I got this from my parents, and they got that from their parents and their parents and their parents. It's, your heredity, your culture. And so all of these things are not you. They are your springboard to unraveling who you are. And once you begin to discover that all of this stuff is really not you, you then begin to understand. And you see, you do not, if you can push through the resistance, and this is the real thing, because at a certain point, as you begin to get older, you become more, what is the word we look for? You become more focused, you become more solidified in your beliefs. They become part of you. For you to identify with those beliefs, and you say, that is my belief system. I am this, I am that, I am Christian, I'm a bad person, I'm a good person, I'm a burglar, or I'm a millionaire, whatever it is, you identify with that specific part of you, because you are actually multidimensional. You have multidimensional aspects of yourself based on your belief systems. And you plop into those. They are like silos. One minute you're a father, and next minute you're on this system here, and then you are doing something else. So you identify with all these variables that you are, but they're not you either. They are just simply dimensions that you choose to be, based on pre-programming on some system. What glues this all together is that you can pull yourself apart and put yourself together in many different ways. You can let go of old parts of you and bring in new parts of you. You say you're all like your body, which is always changing. New cells replace old cells. And you are renewing yourself all the time. And you are doing this at the mental, the emotional, and indeed the baseline, which I call the programs. You define a program as being a system or an energetic memory that no longer serves your purpose, and you make that choice. And that would be, if you could really do this, if you could wipe your hard drive clean and start again, and embed into that hard drive just a program of one thing, love, you have the baseline for a completely new rebuilding of yourself. And that is the opportunity that mankind has, is to rebuild itself into the image of source, but in a physical form, based on just love.
Well, that's a cause for great optimism. And I'm really inviting everybody out there to literally and figuratively take this to heart. Because what Saul is pointing to is that we all have this capacity. And what I'm also getting, and maybe you can tell me if this is true, that because time is a bit of an illusion in and of itself as well, that each of us, whoever we are fully capable of living a life of love and with an awareness of being an aspect of source in this lifetime, no matter how old we are, because that is our ultimate essential nature, even if we have largely been unaware of it.
Correct. You could say that a person that awakes, no matter where they are in their time journey, who fully awakes and lives in the construct of consciousness, the one that has let go of all of the infinite limitations and sees their world as infinite possibilities, opens a pathway to all possibilities. You see, that pathway, once the limitations are gone, there's nothing stopping them. For you are your own, you create your own resistance. You get in your own way. You create your own limitations, every one of you. And yet you do not see that. For if you could decide, and I shall repeat that word, decide, that your intention is to work with Source, to interface with Source, to live a fraction of your time to begin with, whether it is 2 minutes or 2 hours a day, to see the difference that comes into your life, your physical life, and then decide, once you have experienced that, to have more of that, you will very quickly change what you bring into your life experience. The trajectory and the circumstances of your life will shift at all levels, So wherever your limitations have been, wherever your resistance has been, wherever your suffering has been, you literally dissolve them. For you have moved from one state of local separation to a state, even if that state is for a short period, to a state of non-separation, where you are totally in the frequency and connected to the world. For as you begin, you individually and you as a collective, there is no difference. For as you begin this opening up process, so does humanity. However, you do not see that individually, but you are the instrument of it. You say that cause and effect is alive and well in the one, and it indeed spreads. You could say that when 1, 2, 10, or 20 are infected by the love virus, and consider that being 300 million, you have a pandemic which affects the whole planet, as this is often This is currently some of interest to your planet. We are suggesting a new form of virus. We call this the love virus. The more of you that get affected and infected, the greater the ability for this planet to produce a new form of human consciousness, a new form of human experience. You can literally change the planet with this virus.
Okay, love is going viral, and it's time for us all to catch the love bug, and be highly contagious, because we're already interconnected as it already is. So,
right. If you begin to look at why this particular thing has appeared on your planet, it is a direct reflection of how we are interconnected systems. And it is showing mankind from not a great place to be, but showing the mankind that the mirror effect of that is that if you could turn the virus that you have named the coronavirus to the sun love virus, you turn the dynamics around. You see, that's all it is. It is mirroring to humanity, to the collective, how we are totally in connected systems. But mankind still looks at it as a mechanical thing and something we have to save ourselves from. The beauty of the love virus is we open up to being infected. You see.
And I heard you say at one point there, sun love virus. So is there something about the energies of the sun that can help facilitate our catching this love bug? And whether it's embodying some of the energies that our sun offers us, or other energies that the sun embodies that somehow can help to facilitate us catching this love virus and spreading it.
The sun is a symbol of light to your planet. It is the thing that sustains the planet. You have yet no idea why it exists, what its intelligence is, and the frequencies of the thing. All you see is radiation that is harmful. Okay? But without it, you have no life. Okay? Your plants would not grow. Your bodies would not thrive, because you do not collect the different forms of rays that produce vitamin D, which is one of the prerequisites for a whole host of chemicals development in your body. Also, it's essential to virtually every form of life and existence on this planet. Without the sun, you would be a planet that would be devoid of light, devoid of sunshine, and in most cases, probably a ball of ice. So humanity would not exist without this facility. So the sun, the solar sun, which was indeed one of the first of your monolithic gods, was revered as the form of life. I think which is predates the Egyptian monotheism, but the sun has always been considered to be life by most of the cultures. Today we take it for granted, and we say it is heating us up and causing this thing called climate change, and the weather is getting hotter. Well, to a degree, yes. But you see, humanity also collectively changes the weather. You do not understand that your rage creates hurricanes. Your collectivism as a collectivism can cause, as things heat up, as humanity heats up, then of course you affect the weather. Everything is an interchangeable system. So the collective emotions of humankind affects weather patterns. Ask yourself questions why your scientists have never been able to predict weather. It's as though you can predict somebody's emotions. See the two together? They are not predictable, yet they are. You can say there's a prediction in the stock market that, when, things are not going well, people are in fear. And when things are going well, people are buying. And when things are not so well, they just sit on their hands. And you could see that there is a physics in the form of the movement of emotions. And so it is with weather patterns. Humanity deploys its emotional field that affects the energy of the planet, as well as other things such as technology. Your emotions affect your computer. When you're about to throw your computer out the window for you are having experiences with it that it's not working so well, your emotions are affecting the electromagnetic fields in your computer. Therefore, it is responding to the way you feel about it. So you affect all things, even things that you call technology. This is how vast your abilities are, that you affect everything in your world, everything. So when you love your computer and you'll love your motor vehicle, it will respond accordingly.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your love and wisdom with us and reminding us the true nature of our existence and letting us know what's possible for us. Because the time is right, and we do have choice in the matter to decide what we pay attention to and what kind of world we want to co-create. And I think if we were to take a poll of humanity out there, I think we would have an overwhelming majority of people voting to love their existence and live in peace and have a deeper sense of connection with each other. So if you have any final words, Saul, I invite you to offer them now. And again, I just want to say on behalf of everybody watching, whoever will watch, thank you for your presence today.
You are most welcome. Our dissertation has concluded, and we are most grateful for allowing us to be in your presence. And what we say to all of humanity is, above all, love yourself. For when you love yourself, you love all of humanity. It is very simple. Love all parts of your journey. Love all parts of you, your body, your mind, and your spirit. And know that it is just an illusion. For when you discover the frequency of that which we are, you will see a different world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saul. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, Bob Jayco.
Thank you, Stu. Once again, I'm happy to have been here. I actually I get to hear this, but in about 10 minutes, most of that transmission is gone. Okay, so I'll have to go back and
I was going to say, we recorded it for you, Bob. You can tune in just like everybody else.
Yep. So I actually do get it's actually stuck on the cloud. You can say I have a cloud version of this, and it comes down over time. But in short term, during the space, it just disappears.
Well, again, thank you. Thanks, Saul. And whoever's watching, thank you for tuning in. And may we all be spreading this love virus as wide, as far, as deep as possible.
Thank you. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.